And good evening and welcome to the Big High School Sports Show on Bull Falls Radio 98.9 and 1230, online at bullfallsradio.com, mobile devices and Alexa by searching WXCO, and on the Civic Media app. Along with former Newman Catholic High School boys basketball coach Jeff Gress, I'm Chad Holmes. Coming up on the show today, coming up in about 20 minutes or so, we'll be joined by Lakeland Union girls basketball coach Melissa Ouimette. As Lakeland off to a very quick start, they're getting set for a holiday tournament tomorrow and Friday. So we'll talk about the good start and the upcoming tournament games with the Thunderbird head coach Melissa Ouimette. That's at 6:20. And then our student athlete guest coming up at 7:20 tonight from Wausau East. Their outstanding three-sport athlete, volleyball, basketball, and softball, Claire Cushman. Cushman, the Player of the Year in the Wisconsin Valley Conference in high school softball last year. She was honorable mention all-conference in volleyball this fall, and of course she is averaging close to 15 points per game during the winter, so could obviously be part of the all-conference discussion in basketball as well. So Claire Cushman coming up at 7:20. And here in this busy week, and Wednesday we usually don't have games to talk about, Jeff Gress, but this is that time of year where a lot of teams are traveling, they're taking overnight trips, they're playing back-to-backs, even some teams playing 3 games. A real busy time of year.
Yeah, and I think it's important to not lay dormant. It's hard to do. You take that time off and just go in the gym together and with just practicing against each other. So I think it's a big deal to get out and test your team and get out of the conference for a while, maybe even out of the area like a lot of these teams are doing. So it's a fun time for families around the holiday season.
In fact, I was off on the road today. I was off working, Mr. High School here,
Hey, you
all the way from Green Bay. Green Bay,
rest.
Went to Green Bay, came back, going back to Green Bay tomorrow, going to Amherst tomorrow night, going back to Green Bay on Friday.
Well,
that car better stay. I've got nearly 200,000 miles on that baby. That thing better not fall apart before I get the new one. But
that's what you got to do to bring the games to people. It's a good good omen. It's a good omen to be busy.
Yeah, triple header. We're going to talk about later. Triple header. 3 games tomorrow. All done by me.
It'll be good.
But lots of action going on today and then throughout the next couple of days. I thought instead of talking about the entire week, but let's talk about what's going on either today and then the next couple of days with some of these holiday tournaments in basketball and hockey. Let's start with boys basketball. And today, it was the start of the Wisconsin Basketball Yearbook Shootout at Concordia University. And a good win for the Marathon Red Raiders. Boy, they have been off to a fantastic start so far this season. Raiders defeated Kettle Moraine Lutheran 82-71. Tyler Underwood 27 points, Grant Warren 26, Drew Wolfel 15. And you were saying you saw this game earlier today. What jumped out about this one for Marathon?
Again, it was just a Marathon, just steady. It would be the main way to describe them. They've got a lot of different weapons, a lot of different guys that hurt. A couple of those guys hit point totals. They put up 82 points. A couple of those guys hit their highest point totals in their careers with what they scored up in the upper 20s. And I think but I also saw the element, an extra pass, smart decisions, or how to recollect after a turnover. Just it looked like an experienced team out there, but they actually have a blend where they have some of the upperclassmen have logged a lot of varsity hours in terms of their experience, but they back that with some sophomores. When you say sophomores, like, oh, they're young, but those guys played as freshmen last year. So I just thought a balanced attack and a lot of good things happening on both sides of the ball, which leads to their undefeated record, which, they did well out on that college court and just moved the ball with the extra pass. A lot of weapons, and it's hard to stop all that.
Have not seen them threatened yet. That's one of the interesting things. And they are back at it tomorrow morning again at Concordia in the Wisconsin Basketball Shootout against the Prairie School. And again, these are great games. We saw this with Newman last year. They went down there. They split a couple of games, but it was also good to play on that court. It's good to play against teams from the other part of the state when you do have the expectations that a team like Marathon has this year.
Well, if you plan on, as every coach does and every team does, you want to make it to that state tournament. And if you're going to get down there, you're going to play on a college court. So I think anytime you can, test yourself, get those different dimensions to move your team onto with not only stamina and endurance, but just spreading the floor a little differently on terms of the offense and defensive sides of the basketball, I think is a big deal. So I think it's, and when you go down there and you get W's all in all, because sometimes, it's Christmas break. You don't always know. You think your team's going to show up and you have a good feeling they are, but sometimes you can drag your feet a little bit. Sometimes it might take you a little bit to get going after the holidays. And Marathon looked like, they weren't perfect on everything, but they hit a good steady stride and they expanded that lead and they moved the ball when they had to really well. And I saw a lot of different guys have patience in those offensive situations to work it for an extra jump shot or have guys crash on the boards hard. And it's not like Kettle Moraine came at him a couple times. A lot of times they got up by 11 and then the lead was all of a sudden 4. So it's not like Kettle Moraine was a team they could blow by. So, Marathon played well and well enough to get that W. So I think it's a good overall environment to go out and test yourself. You turn around, get to get another one right on the college floor. It's a good tournament.
Absolutely. Another team from our area that's down there was Columbus Catholic, and the Dons ran into Brookfield Academy today, 86-53. Again, it's one of those situations that sometimes the challenge can be a really big challenge, and for a team like Columbus, it was a big challenge today.
Well, and I remember when I was coaching Newman, we go to a different gym, and not in our area or in a smaller school, and be like, how are we going to shoot today? Because we're so used to seeing the stage right up against the basket or another wall right up against the basket. And now you get this open environment where there can be a lot of space on these baskets, especially on these college courts, if not a bigger gym at a bigger school. So, I don't know how Columbus personally shot, but they do play in a smaller gym, and maybe that was a little bit. I know they've been a little bit up and down with the terms of the health of their team. So, but again, I don't. It's not necessarily a loss. What I mean? You're on the road. You're away. It's break time. It's just you go out and test the waters and you learn a little bit as well as you build on some of the good things you're doing. I think everybody wants those W's, but from the losses, I think you can take a lot away from them and become a much stronger team in playing some of these heavier tournaments over the Christmas break.
And they have Winnebago Lutheran coming up tomorrow again in Concordia. So you're right. You're exactly right. I mean, again, it is December. For these teams that have expectations, obviously you want to win every game, but sometimes if you win every game, you're not as ready as you need to be when you get to February.
Well, you're dead on, and I think it's also you get a little flavor for the conference right here because you get heavy into a lot of your conference games right before you go on the Christmas break. So all of a sudden it's kind of like, all right, I know all those people. Let's go play a couple more teams we don't know and get out of that. But I think again, if you're gonna play for the longevity of your season and say we're going to make it somewhere, we're going to get as far as we can and get some playoff wins, you want your team to be ready for any situation, whether that's a bounce back after a bad loss to understand that we can't feel like that, we can't have that happen again, or could end our season potentially in February. So I think any situation you can find to put your team in by playing a diverse schedule, I think becomes a big deal in terms of trying to drive that season for well into the playoffs as far as you can.
And DC Everest today was in the Sundrop shootout over at UW Green Bay in the Crest Center, facing a really good Appleton North team. And I say that because they came to Wausau earlier this season and just took Wausau West to the woodshed the one time that West has really been beat badly so far. What's been a very good start for the Warriors. But Everest, much tighter game, but they fell to Appleton North 73-57. And again, for a DC Everest team, it's an interesting DC Everest squad because it's been a little bit, I think, of a learning process when you lose a kid like Marcus Hall, and all of a sudden now you're trying to have different roles, and it's a good game because they also have some big conference games coming up starting at West next Friday night. But for DC Everest, again, it's a respectable performance against a really good basketball team.
And I think it's good to, again, jump out of the area a little bit and test the waters, and especially for the bigger Division I schools in our area from the teams you're going to see over in the Fox Valley. And I saw, just watching the highlights when they played West De Pere, and they lost yesterday to West De Pere, 64-55. Yeah. And I saw some of those highlights. It's not like they're not moving the ball. It's not like they're getting good drives and kicks and hitting guys in rhythm and playing strong on the defensive end. So they're very competitive in these games. Again, I think you take back and you learn. You got to go challenge your team when you can. I mean, there's certain teams you honor in the schedule because you've played them, and other times once you know the makeup of your team and what you think they can handle, you got to push them to go get those wins. And I think, like you were kind of alluding to or mentioning, I think some of their losses have been quality losses. They've been beaten by good teams that have solid records over in the Fox Valley. So it'll be interesting to see where they jump back into conference play. How consistent can they be in the Valley?
Edgar, meantime, went to Crandon, made a trek north, and they beat Wabeno Leona 53-43 today at the Crandon tournament. And for Edgar, I mean, there's different ways to skin the cat. And you can go to some of these big tournaments, and also you can go to Crandon and just have a chance to bond in that different way and play a couple of games. And in a very tough Merowith South, sometimes it's a good thing to get a couple of W's here during this time frame to build the confidence going into January.
Yeah, and I think that's another way for coaches to look at it. Yeah, we're gonna practice a little bit, give you a little time off to just kind of recover mentally and physically, and then we're gonna go play a game here. Newman, we'll talk about it, is doing the same thing where they're gonna go play. So I guess it's kind of up to coaches' preference what they think their team should handle, and I think that comes from knowing the guys and the girls that you're going to work with throughout the season the best to understand here's the break times we need, here's when we need to push ourselves a little bit, here's when we need to keep things flowing, here's where we can have a little downtime, and they got to judge that based on knowing those kids' personalities and the connections that they have with them. But for Edgar, again, it's always a good feeling too. You go win one, and now maybe we practice one more day and we get Friday off. I don't know. You know what I mean? You have a lot of different options here, and they went out and got the W.
It's a tournament, so they have multiple games.
Do they? Because I couldn't find another one.
I don't either.
And it says Crandon tournament.
Right, so I'm assuming. Again, we should never assume.
No.
Never assume.
So I can't. So
I'm always assuming there's going to be two games.
Right.
But who knows?
So if I'm wrong that they don't have another, they might pop back and have to play back-to-back. Which I think, jumping to that side of it, the back-to-back schedule, that's a big deal too, to see how your team can bounce back with not a ton of prep time. Because the playoffs, those games get closer and closer as you get farther and farther in.
And we're losing a listener tonight, because the Merrill Blue Jays are about to tip off at Monona Grove, 6:35. That's a tournament down there. They got Monona Grove tonight. They will have then Columbus or New Berlin, Eisenhower tomorrow. So Merrill stepping out of the valley and facing some significant competition.
Yeah, I think again, these holiday tournaments, when you go to different parts of the state, you can get things. The reffing can be a little different, just whether they allow you to play less or more. You're in a different environment. Conferences can play a little different based on the size and the makeup of the teams within that conference. So I think when you jump around and you go fight tournaments in different parts of the state, southeast or over by Eau Claire, all those different spots, I think is a big deal. So for Merrill to go out and see what they can do down at Monona Grove, when you can do it on the road too, I think that's kind of nice. I know, again, when I coach, sometimes it was fun to get the alumni back and our families back and a big population in the gym, but sometimes it was nice to get out of the area and see what you're made of. So.
And I went down to Monona Grove a few weeks ago, saw them play Wausau West. That's a team that had earned a huge conference win previously. I think it's Wanakee, if I'm not mistaken, a Wanakee team that went 14-0 in their conference last season, and Monona Grove was a team that finished something around 17-5 or 17-6. So they had a really good win, and they got some talent. West went in there and played a really good game and is able to get a W. But I think it's a really good test for Merrill. And then, of course, either way, whether they win or lose tonight, Columbus and New Berlin, Eisenhower tomorrow. Again, I think these are really great experiences for these team, for the young men as well in this team. And I know.
New Berlin Eisenhower has been solid over the years, but I know Columbus wasn't bad last year because didn't Newman play them last year?
Yes, they did.
I think so. So just again, when you can,
didn't they lose to them?
I think so.
I think they lost to them.
I couldn't remember. I wanted to say something, but I didn't want to jump to conclusion. I thought Monona Grove had played one of the Valley teams already, but I couldn't remember off the top of my head.
It was West,
and you were right. Yeah,
and Columbus. Yeah, that was the week they played Marathon as well. Yeah. That was that big week late in the season, and then they went down and played down south on the Saturday.
Yeah.
So that was
Stoughton.
Yep.
So, anyways, good to get out of the area. Good competition to see. You got, again, just for teams to compare things. Not that it can always be the same opponent, but you get some comparisons that way to see where you stand and what you're looking at as you play other teams. When you have a common opponent, especially when they're outside your conference too, you can test the waters.
Some other tournaments going on tomorrow and then Friday. I think one of the good ones is in Stratford, where the Stratford Tigers are hosting their tournament. Wausau East meets Lakeland in the first game of that tournament. Stratford against Ouimette. It's a good-looking tournament.
Yeah, I like the diversity of the teams from all different conferences. And I know East, normally over the years has gotten Lakeland on their regular schedule, and now getting them in the tournament. And I think it's a good like that's as much as it is playing in the big gyms. I think it might be nice for a team that always plays in the big gym to go back into the small gyms and see what it's just a different environment. So for East, just the change of scenery, but that's common ground for them too, because they play and stay loyal to that tournament every year. And I think Lakeland's on top of the Great Northern right now, but I still, it's determined a little bit by I think what their schedule's been and some of the teams that they've beaten. And I think, and
of course, it does have Division II significance in that section.
Yeah, and I think that's always a big deal to look ahead at that playoff race. And for East, I'm sure, as with any teams, you want to kind of bounce back after your last game and prove that the things you're able to do on the floor are what you want to accomplish and stay consistent with. So they're looking to get back into the game flow as fast as possible. And with Stratford, Coach Schmidt always has a good solid group. They got beat up by Auburndale the last game I think they played. So obviously looking to kind of hit their niche. And not quite. I think I looked at Ouimette and I thought they might be 5-2 overall. So it's not like they're not winning games either. So it'll be interesting to see that balance of those different teams. A lot of diversity in that of divisions and just makeups of the different conferences the teams come from. So I think it's a good flow like that. I think it'll be a fun one to check out at how those teams do.
And Auburndale has a tournament as well. They got Wyowega Fremont tomorrow in the first round, and then Augusta Neillsville. And you look ahead and you think that would be Auburndale Neillsville, which are always very good basketball programs. Before we talk about that real quickly, how shocked were you that Auburndale really did rough up Stratford like they did last week?
In knowing both those coaches, pretty much, I felt like congratulatory for one and felt bad for the other. I was surprised at that score,
77-42 in Stratford.
Yep, and I know these teams and coaches, because they've been around for so long. Not the teams, the coaches have been the same coaches have been there for so long in some of these schools. They just know each other so well. So there's always almost a natural competitiveness that you expect to see, that the game will be a little tighter because they figure things out. They each make adjustments. It's just a big chess match. And I don't know no other way to describe it, but surprised, because I thought it would be a little tighter, unless there's some random thing we don't know about with somebody majorly in foul trouble, somebody go off from the 3-point line. I didn't check any stats, so but surprised that there's quite a discrepancy there.
I'm guessing none of the stats were pretty for Stratford.
No. So that's the beauty of basketball. You want to get back into that game environment as fast as you can when you lose the previous game and you're not happy with how you played, both players and coaches. So that's why it's nice to have another game right around the corner.
And two other teams I wanted to kind of touch on before we take the break and get to our first guest. Marshfield, also at the Wisconsin Basketball Yearbook Shootout. They did not play today, but they play tomorrow and Friday. Marshfield against Onalaska, and then Marshfield against Ashwaubenon. One team from the West, one team from the East for Marshfield, and Mosinee participating in the Green Bay Preble tournament. They're off to a very solid start as well. But for Marshfield, I'm curious to see how they do at this event.
Yeah, I think it'll be, because they're 3-0 in the conference right now, so they've started off solid as they've probably expected to. I'd assume they're 7-1 overall. Had a nice win on the road, which I know we'll talk about later, but it beat Hudson, which is a quality win. So I think, going and getting to step out and get teams from different parts of the state all in one tournament and down in a neat environment. I mean, you hear about the tournament a lot until you have local teams playing down there. They don't watch it. So I got a kind of a feel watching Newman last year that it was a neat thing, the way they matched some of these teams up, and watching Marathon today. So, and like you said, it's always kind of a nice little, it's a certificate of honor that you maybe not get written out because you get invited down there to play in these games. So I think it's a big deal to just be asked to be down there, and then you want to showcase your team and your program a little bit. So it'd be interesting to see how they do against those teams, because that, again, is the big name of the game in Central Wisconsin, is once you get to playoffs, get out of the area.
We're going to take a quick timeout. We'll talk more about these holiday tournaments and holiday matchups as we continue later in the program to talk about the girls and a little hockey as well. But coming up next, we're going to have our first guest for this week. Again, very successful. Made it to the state semifinals a year ago, off to a fast start this year as well, from Lakeland Union High School, and also just a legend in these parts in terms of her high school career at DC Everest. Melissa Ouimette, she'll be our guest coming up next as we continue here on the Big High School Sports Show on Bull Falls Radio 98.9 and 1230.
Hungry for flavor-packed fun?
Dive into Red Robin's sizzling burgers, mouth-watering fries, and endless options.
Or maybe you're craving the perfect slice.
Then it's Donato's Pizza, your passport to pizza perfection.
Order now and treat yourself to an unforgettable taste experience.
Red Robin and Donato's Pizza, 225548 Rib Mountain Drive in Wausau.
Call 715-301-0019 or log on redrobin.com.
Red Robin and Donato's Pizza.
What's your idea of fall fun? Maybe it's hitting the trails on a new ATV. Then it's time to call CCU. That's Clover Belt Credit Union. Or if you're thinking of a UTV for hauling wood or hunting, or maybe just because it would make the tasks around your property so much easier, it's time to call CCU. ATVs, UTVs, utility tractors, and their attachments for care of your property. Whether you need it for fun or to get the job done, Clover Belt Credit Union is here to help with the great rate financing you want. What are you waiting for? Life's too short and winter's too long. Thinking about a motorhome or maybe a snowplow for your ATV or utility tractor? Call CCU for great rate financing. And if you're thinking motorcycle, Clover Belt Credit Union has the financing you need for the bike you want. Call or apply online at ccuwausau.com. Check it out. For vehicle loans, for mortgages, for financing fall fun, call Clover Belt Credit Union. That's CCU. Local lenders lending local money, keeping our community strong.
And welcome back. It is the Big High School Sports Show on Bull Falls Radio, 98.9 and 1230. Online at bullfallsradio.com, mobile devices, and Alexa by searching WXCO and on the Civic Media app. Time for our first guest of the evening, the head girls basketball coach at Lakeland Union High School, Melissa Ouimette. And Coach, first of all, thank you again. I know it's a busy time. You're getting set to head off to a holiday tournament of your own. Glad you could spend a few minutes with us this evening.
Well, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Well, let's before we talk about this year, after we talked to you last year, you were able to make it down to the state tournament and be able to get back to state with your team and, of course, with your two daughters as well. What was that experience like? What was the run like to be able to battle in a very exciting sectional final, to be able to find your way to the state tournament? What was that whole experience like?
It was just like a dream come true. I mean, this was something we set in motion many, many years ago, and it was just incredible to see the girls work this hard and, you know, to have be there with both of my daughters and the team and the community. Everybody was just pulling for us, and I can't even put it to words, just to have something like that happen. And it just doesn't happen. I mean, this is something you have to work toward forever. And I knew when I went to state as a high school kid at Everest that someday, I just kept telling myself, if I ever have daughters or kids, I want them to experience what I did. So it's just something I talked to my own children about since they were just tiny little things. And then it just carried on to their teammates. And it's just something that I can't even put to words. It just meant everything to us.
Now the hard question, was it better as a student athlete all those years ago, or doing it as a coach with your daughters?
Oh my goodness, so much better as a player.
I love that answer. There's nothing like playing, is it?
Sorry?
There's nothing like playing, is there?
Well, just when you're a coach, oh, it's so stressful. It was the most stress I've ever experienced. Isn't that crazy? And I've had stressful business things, but my goodness, coaching, being the coach, going to a state tournament and knowing that you have the talent to get there, and you just keep wondering, am I doing this right? What could I change? What could I do better? And then you feel, oh, did I let them down? It was so stressful as a player, but it was wonderful too. It was totally wonderful. But as a kid, as a player, all you care about is, giving your best effort, being a good teammate, and just soaking everything in. So I would say much better as a player.
And Coach, just look, sometimes you said it perfectly. This just doesn't happen. But sometimes people just like, oh, they're just good. They've got good players this year. But there's so many little processes and things you have to try to maybe predict to get your group there or feel like you can do. And now what do I got to do to bring them there? Looking on paper, you've not even if you don't even follow Lakeland basketball, you've seen the process. When your oldest daughter was a junior, you lost in, I think you lost in the sectionals, and last year when she was a senior, you went to state, and then this year a lot of other good things it's just continuing to happen in the right way. What have been some of your resounding philosophies? Because in my mind, you know your personnel, what you can accomplish. So, you almost have to try to predict the future a little bit, that we want to do this and here's what we got to do to this. Now you got to get them all to be believers. What have been some of your, whether it's scheduling, whether it's, different things that you've done as a coach to provide this for your players? Any substantial philosophies that have really, I guess, carried forth that have been a big deal in getting the girls all culminating the success that you found in Lakeland girls basketball?
Yeah, well, the biggest thing I had to do was I had to make it a competitive environment that was fun. Because up here in beautiful Minocqua, we have all kinds of other fun things. We have tourists, and we have snowmobiling, and we have water skiing, and all kinds of different things, and we have jobs and all this stuff. So I had to make an environment that was fun and competitive, and that's what I did, because these girls love to compete. They love to go 110 miles an hour. They hate it when I stop them to shoot free throws. That's why we stink at free throws. If you look at our free throw percentage, we stink at it. But, man, we can shoot beautifully from the floor and from the three-point line. But these girls, I had to challenge them. I had to come up with a game plan that was fun, that they loved, looking forward to coming to practice. And, we're in practice, and I've got girls asking me, hey, Coach, can we do this drill? Can we do that drill? Can we do this? And so I always try to make sure I squeeze those things in, because I want them hungry to come to practice. And that's what I've had to do since I started coaching here. And it's worked out beautifully. These girls love to play fast. So we play fast. We get the ball and boom, we are down the court. We just love 5 out, cutting in, cutting through, posting up, just all these different things. I just had to look to see what they love doing and what we were good at, and try to make it happen. And this junior group that I have here now, they were the first group that I coached since 4th grade all the way through, and we haven't lost anyone. They've been with the whole program since day one, and they just love to keep coming, and it's worked out great for us.
And how about your philosophy on scheduling? I know sometimes at schools, the ADs, they might bounce it off the coach. They might just take control of it. They might judge the team on what they need. How big of influence, I guess, have you? Because you guys play. You have to have your conference games, but you also play tough. You want to get to go see who you want to see in non-conference games. How big a factor have you been in determining that schedule and trying to help make that as successful as possible?
My athletic directors, I've had 3 of them since I've been here. And they've all been wonderful. If I've ever told any of them, hey, I want to play this school, or I want to go down to this tournament, they tried everything they could to make it happen, because they understand that we have to travel outside of our area too, because different different areas of the state play ball differently. I mean, there are some areas of the state where they play a certain type of defense or they do a certain type of offense, and you never know what you're going to run into when you get to that state tournament. So I want my girls to see it all and not be nervous or afraid that they can't compete with some of these teams because, they're from Madison or, they're from over here. So I want them being confident and going into any tournament that we go into, knowing that they have every right to be there and we're going to give them a good game. And so my athletic director, my school, they've been behind me 110% of the way because I've asked for some crazy games and they have tried to get them for us.
Again, we're talking to a Lakeland Union High School girls basketball coach, Melissa Ouimette, here on the Big High School Sports Show on Bull Falls Radio, 98.9 and 1230. You mentioned your junior group and looking at one thing that jumps out about your roster is in this era, we don't see as many tall players, it seems, where you have multiple tall players on the team. And it doesn't have to be tall players that play under the basket. Nowadays, it could be tall players that play outside the arc and play on the wings and whatever it may be. But you have a number of girls that are north of 6 feet. And you also have a couple knocking on the door of 6 feet as well. How much of an advantage is it to have just a little bit of height, more height than your opponents?
I love it. Well, I'm 6'2".
Yeah.
And so I know what it's like to play when you've got that extra height. And I love working with these girls with that height too. And then we even have girls. So I've got 3 6'1" girls. Actually, Christina's closer to 6'2" than she is 6'1". I've got several 5'11s. My only 2 short ones, really, I mean, not even short, but they're 5'8" and 5'6". Other than that, they're all 5'11", 6 foot, 6'1", 6'2". And it's just great because it hides a lot of mistakes, too. So, like, let's say you didn't quite get there on time, but you've got that extra wingspan, so you can get a tip. So, and the other thing, it's just a mindset. When you see a team walk in that's really tall, and you're a team that's, 5'7", 5'6", 5'8", it does something to you. It's like, oh boy, and then maybe they think, oh, I've got to change my shot or I've got to do, different things. It just kind of affects people in the mental part of the basketball game too. But with our height, we don't just keep them under the basket either. I mean, these girls are, catching the ball out on the wing, pulling in, cutting through, knocking down threes. So I've never been one of those coaches that just puts a kid on a block and makes them stay there either, because I want this to be fun. I want them to come to practice. So I want them doing all these different things. You
had obviously a great leader in Juliana last year and for a number of years. How has the dynamic within this group changed now that Juliana obviously graduated and moved on, and now we have a bit of maybe a younger team, but still a very experienced team in certain points? How has that dynamic changed?
It's kind of funny because this junior group, I keep talking about this junior group because they won the LCT tournament when they were in the youth team, so they've played together. 8 or 9 of them have played together since they were in 4th grade. So it's like they kind of had to get used to having Juliana with them, which is kind of, different. But so now she's gone. So now it's back to that group, how it was, back when they were in 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th grade. So her sister played that point guard role. So now she's back to doing that again, but she's kind of more like a point forward. So it's the roles that the girls have been used to playing since they first started playing basketball. So they have lots of confidence. They know what I want, and they know how to do it, and they like doing it. So everything is coming together here very nicely for us, and we just have to keep going.
And Coach, I know there's different measuring sticks in the season. Sometimes, you judge your first couple weeks of practice if you get that long. If you get that many before a first game, then you evaluate yourself right after that first game or two, and then you might get something over Thanksgiving, and then you get into conference play and you're judging it again, and then you're into a Christmas break where you get to see your team and judge them against hopefully some good non-conference foes in a Christmas tournament of some sort. So far with your team, what are some things that, I really like this about us? This is what's fun to watch, and they're executing what I need. And some things like, other than the free throw shooting, you said that hey, we really got to work on this because we don't want it to bite us at some point in the season.
Right. I'm very happy with the way we run the floor. I don't think there's a team out there better at doing that than what we do. We get a rebound, we make one pass, maybe one dribble, and we're scoring a layup at the other end. So I love how we attack, getting down the floor, looking to score right away. I also think that we've been doing a great job with our pressure defense too, just because of our length. And if you do get a shot, you're not going to get two of them. So I like the way that that's all come together. And, even some of the officials just kind of joke around like, hey, coach, call a timeout. Just because it's boom, boom, up and down, and we're scoring, and the other team doesn't even realize that we've already made it down the court. So I just love how fast we play, and we're not just turning that ball over either. I mean, we're getting maybe 8 or 9 turnovers. That's pretty low for us. So we're taking care of the ball, we're getting down the floor, and we're shooting beautifully from the floor too. So very happy about all of that, but except for the free throws.
Let's talk a little bit about your girls. Let's start off with your daughter, Christina, because one thing that when we talk to coaches all the time, one thing that coaches always want to have is consistency. When I look at, we talk about, the results every week, and we talk about what teams are doing. And every week we talk about the consistency that Christina has had in terms of her production for your team. I mean, it's just, it seems like every night she puts up, anywhere from 25 to almost 40 points in a game, and then adds all the other intangibles and other numbers she does as well. Is she as consistent as it looks, at least from the outside?
She totally is. It's just so funny because, last year I used to worry like, oh, okay, they're going to do triangle and two. We're probably not going to get enough scoring power out of her, when that happens. And I would just stress about different things. But this year I have not had to stress about any of that because she's the kid that can score inside, she can score outside, and she can drive it to the rim. And not only that, she passes the ball beautifully, and she can handle the ball against the press. She's basically kind of a coach's nightmare if you're trying to stop her, because if you come up and you try to press us, she's going to find the girl open down the court. And so she just looks at every game as just its own little challenge, and what can I do to help our team win? And she doesn't get too high or too low about anything. She's just even keel and just plays whatever has to be done. She's looking to get it done, and every night it's 33 points, 31 points, 35 points. She just had her lowest scoring game of the season with 25 points against Wausau East, but she had 13 assists, 11 steals, and 10 boards. So that's what is that?
Quadruple
double. Yeah.
How about your other 6'1" kids in double figures as well, scoring Sailor Timmerman and Eva Evenhouse? I mean, I don't know if you recall. I've been around here way too long, and back in the day, I remember when Tom Weinkoff had 3 6-footers at Newman. You just don't see that very often,
right.
and all producing. And now you got these 3 that are all producing. Could you talk about maybe those girls as well?
Yeah, they look great because when we are in these practices, I don't just take my 5 starters and say, okay, you go scrimmage against this, against the second string. No. We play against one another. So Christina and Sailor are battling like crazy, because Sailor's physical. So she's in there pushing, shoving, doing all that against, my daughter, who's more like of a quick attack, finesse, looking for that outside shot. So those 2 battle, and they make one another better. And then you've got Ava who goes in there and battles against them. So when these 3 are battling, they are going at it, and it's fun. It's fun to actually watch. And they are getting so much better. I mean, they are so much better now than they were at the start of the season. Because, if, let's say one gets burnt on a certain move, then she's over there working on it because now she wants to do that. So it's just great having these 3 kids out there that love to battle and love to do well. So they make one another better.
And Coach, how about jumping into the games for over the Christmas break here? Again, I get some of my information from with sports when I looked a little bit. I see there's the one on Friday at Watertown.
Thursday against Lake Mills in Watertown.
And the Lake Mills is the one I'm missing. Yep. What do you expect out of these teams? I'm sure you've been looking at them.
Yeah, so Lake Mills, they do a different style than what we do. They're going to walk the ball down the court. So we haven't played against a team yet that literally walks the ball down. So we're going to see how that works for them and what we can do against it. So we're going to do, of course, pressure and try to speed it up because we like to score 80 points a game. So, and then Watertown, they do 1-3-1. And we love playing against a 1-3-1. So we're actually looking forward to these games. And Watertown's done very well against some of the teams that we have played against. And Lake Mills, they were ahead of Mosinee too. And then they lost in the final minute or two of the game. So we are looking forward to playing both of them because they're completely different teams. And just going down there and showing that area what kind of team we are, because I'm proud of this team. I'm proud of the girls, and I want them to go down there and do well.
And generally, this is a rather interesting part of your schedule. Besides these two games, then you got significant conference games coming up against Rhinelander and Mosinee, really good non-conference game against Marshfield. I imagine this is really right in this part of the season. It's almost like setting a foundation for the big push heading towards the end of the season, isn't it?
Oh, definitely. And see, what's kind of happened a couple of years too is that we had all of these super strong teams because we have Rice Lake and Xavier and who else? Oh, Wausau West. Yeah. So we've had those earlier in the season. And then when we start heading towards tournament, then it kind of gets a little lighter. Well, this year I told my athletic director that I want tough teams going into the final end of our season so we're ready for the playoffs. So that last week, I mean, we have 3 super tough games, and we have Marshfield and Wausau West and just all these different schools, and it's going to help us be ready for that tournament because I would love to make another run at that state tournament again.
I think it's finally for me. This tournament coming up the next couple of days, and it's a long trek from northern Wisconsin down to Watertown. Beyond the game aspects, how important are these kind of trips for the you've said these girls have played for a long time. Obviously, they know each other exceptionally well, but at the same time, in the midst of a season, to have these kind of getaways, I imagine that's something that is important maybe beyond the lines in terms of trying to get this team also ready for the big push down the stretch, because it's more than just what happens between the lines. It's behind the scenes as well, isn't it?
Oh, definitely. And, they have to be mentally ready to travel 4 hours to get to a tournament. And then, think about traveling there, do the shoot around. Maybe family isn't going to come. There's all these different aspects of the game that impact a player that maybe you don't think about when you're coaching just, half an hour away from where the girls actually live. And then, you have to be able to travel, get there, warm up, and actually play. Wake up from that big long drive, and just all these different things. And now you've got other media crews there that are live streaming and interviewing people, and it's just a whole different world. And it's great for them to experience that and see that, and not be timid when they see it, like at the sectional finals or getting to that state tournament. I just don't want any. I don't want anybody afraid or nervous. I want them confident and comfortable. So that's why I do these tournaments.
Well, that's what I was going to piggyback off of, Coach. It's just how important is that you're playing? Because there's a number of different ways to look at it. Some teams will go dormant during the Christmas break. Some will just be like, yeah, we're going to bring one person to our gym. Other people will be like, you got to have the tournament atmosphere. So, I guess I'm assuming it's a big deal to your girls to be playing right now and to get these games and get outside of practice, so to speak, this week.
Exactly. They love doing this. We've done this since 4th grade. These parents used to come to me and say, hey, Coach, what's going on? We're not playing on Saturday. I'm like, well, no, we're going to play Sunday. Well, no, we want to play Saturday and Sunday. So I've got these parents that are just as hungry as the kids are, that want to get out there and have their girls playing, because that's what they know. That's all they've ever known. These girls play a style of basketball. It's what they have been taught from day one. They understand they have to get out there and run the floor and do what they've been asked to do since they started playing basketball. And these parents love it. They love taking their girls to these different tournaments, cheering for them. It's just been wonderful. I could not have asked for better girls, a better team. It's just a great experience for everyone. And I'm trying to do my best to get them the competition that will help them get ready, and the experiences that they need to not be nervous when, let's say, we get to that sectional final game. So I just want them ready, and I feel it's my job as a coach to give them every experience that I can possibly do and give them.
Lakeland Union girls basketball head coach Melissa Ouimette. And number one, again, congrats on all the success up to this point. Best of luck, safe travels to Watertown. And again, hopefully as we get down the line, maybe get you back on here again, because very, very exciting stuff going on in the Northwoods. And thanks for, again, spending a few minutes with us before your trek to Watertown.
Well, thank you for having me. I love talking to you guys.
Again, Coach Melissa Ouimette of the Lakeland Thunderbirds. We're going to take a quick break and then come back and have more. We're going to talk more about the girls basketball and the holiday tournaments going on this weekend and a whole bunch more. So we'll take a break and be right back here on Bull Falls Radio 98.9 and 1230. Thank you, Coach.
For more than 60 years, Sun Printing has been Central Wisconsin's commercial printer of choice due to their commitment to quality, creative solutions, and dedicated service. Sun Printing's team offers you a wide spectrum of services, whether you need vehicle graphics, offset, digital, large format, graphic design, or mailing. They print everything under the sun. No project is too big or too small, so give Sun Printing a call at 845-4911 or visit them online at sunprinting.com.
Take your career to the next level with Graphic Packaging International. Work with a team to make Hot Pocket sleeves and the food trays you find at our local fair. Join the GPI team and experience the benefits of one of the highest paying manufacturers in the area, starting at almost $22.55 per hour. Enjoy job security, a clean facility, and an excellent benefits package, including a week of vacation after 4 months and 2 weeks after a year. Apply today at graphicpkg.com and elevate your career with Graphic Packaging.
And welcome back. Big High School Sports Show on Bull Falls Radio, 98.9 and 1230. Online at bullfallsradio.com. Mobile devices and Alexa by searching WXCO. And on the Civic Media app. Again, thanks to Lakeland Union girls basketball coach Melissa Ouimette for joining us. And you can tell how much she enjoys it. I mean, obviously, even going back to, her, what a basketball life she has had. And again, I went to school at Everest a year after I graduated a year after she did. I still remember what an incredible excitement there was to have somebody like that at her school. And she was going to Tennessee and then Northwestern and leading the team to state. And now to be able to take that knowledge and the experiences and have the success as a basketball coach has been very impressive to watch.
Yeah, and you can tell it carries forth into her team the way she talks about it, the experiences that she shares, that she has with the girls, and just the philosophies and the thought processes. And it's kind of cool that it can happen that way, because sometimes you can be a state caliber player, but you might not want to coach. You might not be that as a coach. So to see it carry through to the different generations, I think, is a big deal that can instill a lot of great times in what high school athletics can be and what they are up at Lakeland right now.
And taking a quick look at some of the girls' action going on, not the same kind of action right now today that we saw on the boys' side, but you got some area teams involved. You got the Merrill Blue Jays heading to North Fond du Lac for a tournament the next 2 days, taking on Milwaukee Golda Meir tomorrow in the semifinals. And Merrill also will take on either North Fond du Lac or Manawa in the second round on Friday. You got the Century Classic. We haven't really talked about that, both boys and girls. Always a lot of basketball action going on down at UW Stevens Point. You got Mosinee, like their boys, going over to Green Bay to participate in the Preble tournament as they try to get ready for that second round against Lakeland coming up in early 2024. And you got the annual event going on in Marshfield where Wausau West is always down there. And they always face off a team usually like either Hudson or Superior. And Wausau West takes on Oshkosh West tomorrow in Marshfield. And then Hudson against Marshfield. The teams flip their opponents then in the second round. Anything in terms of those girls' games that jumps out in terms of the tournaments or anything that you really like?
Well, I'm interested to see just when I don't hear a name of a team, and then like the Milwaukee Golda Meir.
I know.
I mean, I've never heard of it. They exist, and I haven't had time to check even if they're in a conference or they're independent yet.
Do you know who Golda Meir is? She was one of the first prime ministers of Israel. She is a Milwaukee native, so went to school down there.
Well, now I do. I appreciate the history.
I learned a
little bit today, but you know what I mean, though. Sometimes these schools they either rename themselves in honor of somebody or changed, and you're kind of curious where they stand or if they've just started off. Are they going to be a solid program yet? I like it when you can get some different teams. So Merrill's playing a Milwaukee team. They're playing North Fond du Lac. They could get Manawa, who's been a top girls team in that conference in Division 4 for years. So I think I like that one. The Century Classic's another great atmosphere for being a half hour away. You get to play on a college floor. A ton of different teams. Games are going on nonstop. You can watch as much basketball as you want. But it's also kind of a neat environment because, again, it's usually by invitation for a lot of those teams. And then there's also a donation made back to your program through the Stevens Point's Park Department. And it was just kind of neat to see it out. And I think other places run it great. Marshfield's done that one for years. I'm interested to see when you have some crossover in opponents like that because I believe West will have Oshkosh West and Hudson as well as Marshfield will. So to see where two conference teams stand against the second opponent, I know comparisons can be great and they can be tossed out the door at times.
That's right.
You know, you can debate that all day, but I think that I always like to look at it how one team that I thought of in our conference would do, and then we would go play that same opponent to kind of see how we stacked up. So I think, you know, those are some good tournaments to see where teams stand and to get out of their area a little bit.
Coming up in the second hour after we talk to our student athlete guests, we will kind of take a peek at where we stand in some of the conferences going into the 2024 portion of the schedule. We'll talk a bit about the boys' side coming up in the first segment of the second hour. Then Claire Cushman will join us at about 7:20 to be our student athlete guest. So in the first segment, we'll talk about where we kind of stand in terms of the boys and the conferences here in Central Wisconsin. Then we'll have Claire Cushman, and then we'll come back and talk a little bit about where we stand with the girls basketball going into the 2024 part of the schedule. And real quickly, I want to talk a little bit about the hockey, and real quickly as well, because I was talking to Coach Brandt before the game, and it was real interesting because it doesn't feel like we're that far into the season, but for hockey especially, because they start the playoffs earlier, because there's a 3-week span where you have the seeding meetings and the starts of the playoffs for hockey, girls basketball, boys basketball. So basically boys basketball, they get their playoff seedings and then they also start their tournament about 2 weeks later. Right. But with hockey, you start in mid-February. I mean, and the first Saturday of February, you have your seeding meetings. So once you get past this week, you get into 2024, you're about a month away from the seeding meetings. It's very much coming up quickly. And a team like Wausau West, who's played a lot of games so far, in fact, after this weekend, they'll be playing their 14th game, and they'll be down to 10 games to go. They'll be past the halfway point. Some other teams, they haven't played as much early on, but boy, and even for the girls basketball, and even a little bit further off for the boys, you get close to start thinking about those kind of things rather quickly once you do see the calendar turn to a new year.
Yeah, I remember every time coming back from Christmas break, it feels like you got a couple of quick practice preps, maybe not even just to get ready for the next conference game, or sometimes teams will have one more non-conference game right before the conference game start up at the end of the week if you come back from Christmas break earlier in the week. And it flies because, every day is another chance to prepare. So you're like, okay, we're going through practice today. Here's what I want to get done. And you have so many things you want to see well out of your team and do that. The time just flies. And then you look back and like, oh, we just got done with a week and we had 3 practices and 2 games. And by the way, we've tottered over our halfway point. And I always found that hard in the discussions I had with the seniors because they love the sport and they've given you everything they got. They just really don't want it to end. And both when I played and when I coached, it was just so hard to know the days are numbered, so to speak, and that you only got so much time left. So I think there's still no secret to slowing down the season other than saying, I'm going to try to enjoy every practice, and that's not easy to do, as much as you're also going to try to enjoy every game. But the time has nowhere to go but forward. And so, unfortunately, as much as the excitement is to see where you stand, to see what type of playoff run on some of this unexpected stuff that happens in the postseason yet, and to see where we're going to end up and when our season's going to end and are we going to accomplish what we want to get done, it also just, snap of a finger and it's gone and the winter sports season is done. So I think it's a big deal. Like if you're getting to play this week yet, slow it down and enjoy those games, both from everybody, from the coaches
Right.
to the parents to the players. And for those players, just know that every moment matters. The times you get to hang out with your teammates, you got to do this because you're enjoying it. So, make it last as long as you can.
Let's talk a little bit about what's going on in hockey because, as I said, I was off doing hockey earlier today over at Wausau in the Green Bay area. And the Wausau West Warriors, I thought, played their best game of the season. I thought they came out and they put it together in a way I have not seen it up to this point. And the Warriors rolled past Fond du Lac St. Mary Springs 6-0. Cooper DePoit had a natural hat trick in the first period. 3 goals in a row. Had the hat trick and then added a 4th goal in the second period. Chase Crass had a goal and 4 assists for West. A goal for Ray Reinick and 25 saves for Julian Skolkuchi. The freshman got his first shutout as a varsity player, and the Warriors get the good W, now 7-5 overall. And the name that kind of jumps out is Ray Reinick because during the football season, he got hurt, the ankle injury against Stevens Point, came back in the playoff game against Bash, re-injured the ankle, came back last week, played a little bit on special teams in the game against Chippewa Falls, and then today he was put on the top line with DePoit and Crass. And the numbers don't lie. Cooper DePoit 4 goals, Chase Crass 5 points, and Ray Reinick had a goal himself. But also he is just a fast player. He is a physical player. And as you know, there's some times where it just takes one piece to kind of put it together in a way that you hadn't seen before. And it looks so different today for Wausau West. It shows again that when people talk about, next man up, sometimes it's not that easy. Because, there are certain reasons why somebody will be out in that position. And then, obviously, you want somebody to step in and do the job and give the best effort. But, boy, when you're finally able to get all the pieces that you want out there, put them in a position that you wanted to see in terms of a line combination or something like that, and it looked like a different Wausau West team to me today.
Well, and I think finding that combination is half the battle. Coaches have different ideas, different things they want to try, different things that through trial and error might work or not work, and when it can click, it's a big deal because you're not only intertwining player connections, you're intertwining what they're able to do on the ice, what they bring, and finding that combination, and you can get proof in those statistics. And I don't know, I watched that kid carry a football. I gotta imagine he can make a difference on a hockey, piece of ice too, because just the way he plays hockey, I would assume would be naturally built in. But when you can find those components of where those guys naturally feed off each other with not a lot of thought, and it becomes pretty natural. That's a good direction that lineup is going.
It also makes me very excited for tomorrow because tomorrow they play again tomorrow and Friday over in Green Bay. And tomorrow the Warriors take on the number 1 ranked team in the state for entertainment purposes only, as I'd like to say. But it's still a very good Edgewood squad. Madison Edgewood, number 1 in the Wisconsin Prep Hockey.net polls. And be very interesting to see if West can do it again tomorrow. If this is something that makes them a much more dangerous team against the best teams in the state, and looking forward to that one. Again, we'll have the game tomorrow, 12:20 for the pregame, 12:30 for the opening face-off live right here on Bull Falls Radio, 98.9 and 1230. Also then on Friday, the Warriors will wrap up this event over at Green Bay against Middleton. And I always like when they play Middleton because, another history note, Wausau West has won one state championship at hockey, and that came back in 2011, and they beat Middleton in the championship game. So it's always a good excuse to talk about when they won the state championship back in 2011. And as you well know, when you have these games that can bring back fond memories, you like to bring up any kind of connection you possibly can.
Yeah,
so,
definitely.
And we'll have that game again Friday at 2:20 for the pregame, 2:30 for the opening face-off again here on WXCO. Quickly, a couple of other games that were going on today. Tough one for the Blue Jacks of East Merrill United. They rallied from a 3-1 deficit against Whitefish Bay after 2 periods. They tied up the game with 2 seconds to go in regulation. They forced overtime, but then Whitefish Bay would score in overtime at 4:02 to win 4-3. East Merrill United playing in an event over in Wapaka. They'll have games coming up both Thursday and Friday as well. Blue Jacks got goals from Vincent Newman Knuckles, also Kanan Yankee, and then Brody Tranto got that game-tying goal, I'm sure, after the goaltender was pulled with 2 seconds to go in regulation. DC Everest today was victorious. They're participating in the tournament over in Antigo, and the Evergreens knocked off the host Antigo Red Robins by a score of 5-3. And it sets up potentially, and I'm fairly certain it'll be DC Everest against Amory. And Amory right now is the number 1 ranked team in the state in Division 2. So tomorrow, Wausau West will play the number 1 team in the state in Division 1. And the DC Everest Evergreens will get a nice opportunity against Amory in the championship round of that Antigo tournament. And Amory, a very good hockey team as well. So very, very interesting stuff indeed. So
when you get to the top of the ranking, so to speak, is there a big difference between when you're playing the top teams in Division 2 if you're Division 1? You know what I mean? Because there can be a big difference in basketball.
Oh, you're right. You're right.
When you're a D5 going against a D1, just based on numbers alone,
sometimes
is there a big difference that way in hockey?
Sometimes I'm gonna kind of balance. Last year, the Division 2 state champions, who was number 1 for most of the season, was New Richmond. And they compete in the Big Rivers Conference with a bunch of teams that are annually ranked at or near the top in Division 1. And despite being the Division 2 team, New Richmond actually won that conference. So they could have been, I think, in the mix in Division 1 if they were a Division 1 team. But I think you would probably agree that over the years we've seen some teams that are smaller schools that you say, okay, they could. Again, I mentioned the old days with Weinkauf and Newman girls. Yeah. There were a couple of those teams that, and
could
one
play
year
higher than they are divisionally.
And actually, with the year that Wausau West girls made it to the state tournament, Newman Catholic made it to the state tournament as well. West made it to the state semis in D1. Newman during the regular season beat them rather convincingly that year. So, and there was a sense that maybe that would have been the team that could have competed at any divisional level. But for the most part, there is a difference. You've seen this over the years as well. I mean, that you have some of these special teams that may be from a small school, but generally the divisions
the
mean
population
something.
wins out.
Yes.
Unless, of course, you have some things that matter, like the size, like when you're a smaller school playing in a bigger conference.
Right.
It kind of lends you to be able to play up a little bit.
Exactly. So
makes sense.
So yeah, I would say that there are special cases, I guess is the way to put it.
Good answer.
We're going to come back and kind of recap where we stand now going into 2024 on the boys' side in high school basketball. Where do we stand with these conference races? Who is stepping up? Who is surprising? And some of the recent activity as well. So we'll talk about that coming up as we continue here on the Big High School Sports Show on Bull Falls Radio, 98.9 and 1230.
If you're looking for your next ride, check out Mankey GMC in Schofield. Formerly Fred Miller Automotive, Mankey GMC serves Schofield, Wausau, Marshfield, and Stevens Point with a huge selection of new and pre-owned vehicles. Explore a range of top-notch SUVs like Acadia, Terrain, and Yukon, or choose from the rugged Sierra truck lineup, or even a certified pre-owned vehicle. No matter your dream vehicle awaits at Mankey GMC, 448 Grand Avenue in Schofield, and online at MankeyAuto.com. Mankey GMC in Schofield, where your journey begins.
Parents of class of 2024 seniors, graduation is a few months away. Do you know where your photos are? Melissa Sullivan of Picks and Pieces Photo and Digital Organizing can help. Mel is a professionally trained photo manager who can convert printed photos and outdated media to digital formats, consolidate and organize your digital photo collection, and create custom photo books, gifts, and slideshows. Preserve, organize, and share your priceless family memories today. Call Mel at 715-446-0762 or visit picksandpieces.com today to learn more. Again, that's PIX, the letter N, pieces.com.
WXCO 1230 AM, W255DN Wausau, streaming at bullfallsradio.com.
It is hour number 2 of the Big High School Sports Show on Bull Falls Radio, 98.9 and 1230, bullfallsradio.com, mobile devices, and Alexa by searching WXCO, and on the Civic Media app. Getting pumped. Got to get another hour here. Busy week.
It is. We're good.
Absolutely. But coming up, we will have our student-athlete guest for this week from Wausau East High School, Claire Cushman. She'll be joining us at about 7:20 this evening. Reminder, tomorrow we have a triple header of high school sports right here on Wausau's only radio station that doggone it cares enough to bring you play-by-play of high school sports because it is important. As I said, I'll be over in Green Bay for the Wausau West Warriors against Edgewood in that massive matchup at the Green Bay Notre Dame Showcase. 12:20 for the pregame, 12:30 for the opening faceoff. When that is done, I'll hit the road heading to Amherst for a girls-boys doubleheader featuring the Newman Catholic Cardinals. The Cardinal girls will take on Amherst first, 5:50 airtime, 6 o'clock for the opening tip, and that will be followed at approximately 7:30 by the Cardinal boys against the Amherst Falcons. So again, triple header sports tomorrow night right here on Bull Falls Radio, 98.9 and 1230, bullfallsradio.com, mobile devices, and Alexa by searching WXCO and on the Civic Media app. And let's talk about the boys' side. Let's talk about where we stand in some of the conferences. Wisconsin Valley Conference, you got the Marshfield Tigers. We mentioned they're competing at the Wisconsin Basketball Yearbook event down at Concordia, and they're off to a 3-0 start in conference. Stevens Point is 2-0 in the conference. Wausau West 2-1, and the Warriors they got, I would say, a little fortunate last Thursday night. That was the only conference game last Thursday, and they went to Wisconsin Rapids, and the Red Raiders looked like they were going to get that first conference W, but the Warriors were able to get a Lucas Hager 3-point field goal at the buzzer of regulation to force OT, and West would win 73-67, and a big win for Wausau West. Then you got East and Everest at 1-2, and then Rapids and Merrill both 0-2 in the conference. I guess general thoughts. What are you thinking right now in terms of the Wisconsin Valley Conference on the boys' side?
Well, I guess, I think everybody has a possibility to get after somebody at a given night. You're going to have some sleeper games here and there. You're going to have, some consistencies. I'm sure, the coaches are all smart enough individuals that they're going to be preaching you can't take a night off against anybody because that's the way all these conferences run and should be within conference play. But it just looking on paper and what we can see statistically, Spash and Marshfield look like they're coming out as the forerunners in that conference right now. With Spash, having a 9-0 mark right now and getting some quality wins against teams that Marshfield hasn't. The Nina win and the Eau Claire Memorial win on Friday. I think Eau Claire Memorial was at least undefeated or top of their conference. Right. So that was a nice win for Spash. And I think, the rest is kind of in the mix based on, like for West. One they could have lost to Rapids. They had to come from behind at the end of that game.
Found a way.
8-3
right now.
I think that's going to kind of play out when you find a way in these conference games because you got West, East, Everest kind of hanging in that middle. Who wants to find their consistency and be the forerunner in there? Because it depends on a given night. I mean, for Everest, their last conference loss, I think they got beat up by Spash 83-59. So that's why I'm thinking Spash and Marshfield are setting themselves out top a little bit, but, for the middle of that pack, the West, East, Everest, right now trying to find a way to kind of hang out there and take one from them, or a couple of them from when each team does it, could find them back in the mix, because sometimes those conference standings are decided by a game or two. So consistency is the big name of the game, and you're dealing with high school athletes. It's hard to do sometimes.
And with the Valley, we've talked about this, they don't really get into the conference as quickly as some of the others.
No.
And it really gets hot and heavy very quickly after the start of the new year, with starting next Friday, January the 5th, and then Tuesday the 9th, and Friday the 12th, back to back to back in terms of conference play. And obviously I keep a close eye on West because I do broadcast the games here on Bull Falls Radio, but they've got an opportunity now. They got some massive games coming up. You got DC Everest coming to the field house a week from Friday. Then on Tuesday the 9th, Wausau West has Wausau East coming into the field house. And then the following Friday the 12th, Wausau West has Marshfield coming into the field house. 3 consecutive home games for Wausau West to put themselves, I think, in a position to be part of the discussion. You think as for Wausau West, because then at the end of the season, they play a lot more road games in the conference.
Right.
And they've been good on the road this year, but still, it's not going to be easy. But you have 3 consecutive conference home games coming up, which can really mix things up. And I think especially those games against Everest and East, because I think both Everest and East feel like, despite their 1-2 records, that they will have the opportunity to move up rather quickly in the conference standings with those games against West.
Well, and that's what you're talking about, the scheduling here, was kind of thinking too. It's tough because that conference, the breaks you have in between it, like most of them haven't played Tuesday, right before they went on Christmas break, right? Except for the Rapids West game in terms of conference play, and now they don't almost hit each other till January 5th. That's a while from seeing each other. So I think you hit it for West. It's you win those 3 games, you're right up in the pack with the talks about the Marshfield and the Spash teams up there, and you control your own destiny because you keep 2 teams off your back that are hanging right around that. If they take the games, they become in the mix. So I think any one of those teams can become in the mix. Now, it's not easy because West has Marshfield, who's obviously played very well in that conference so far. You got East, who has offensive firepower, and that's a rivalry game no matter where those teams stand in a given year. And Everest, has been challenging themselves non-conference. I think they have the personnel to take.
Well, they showed it when they went to East and said, "Hey, we don't care that Wausau East got off to a very good start, and maybe we were losing some games. They went over there and won." So again, this Everest team, I would feel like, they feel like now they can get into this conference and take some of those bruises they got in the non-conference and make themselves again a very dangerous team. And again, I've been impressed with Oliver Drake the last couple of years as the coach. I think he's brought something to that Everest program that maybe we haven't seen previously. I think he does have a true foundation he's trying to build with that program, and I'm going to be very curious to see as that team continues into the next couple of months how well they do.
And I think some of his knowledge when he shared that time we interviewed him, I think that was last year, that he just some of the college stuff he's talked about. I think it sometimes brings you a little bit extra into the mix of what you're trying to accomplish with the kids, but. I don't know. You could say it as simple as this. Whoever can get a hold of Spash one time might find themselves hanging right back behind them.
Right.
And that team that's able to do that. Now, can they? I don't know. Spash has been very consistent in winning in the conference and outside of it. So, but at the same time, they've only got 2 conference games.
Exactly.
So it's not a lot.
No.
I mean, none of these are a lot.
No.
They're all 3 or 2. So
yeah.
We don't have a ton to base it off of, but that consistency factor is going to become a big deal, and I'm sure teams are looking to spread their wings a little bit in these non-conference games within these tournaments that they play, to just try to say, here's what we want to get ready. Here's what we want to be ready for and pumped up for when we hit our conference schedule coming back after Christmas break.
Great Northern Conference. You got 3 teams that are undefeated. Lakeland 4-0 in the conference, 5-2 overall. Mosinee 3-0, 7-1. Rhinelander 3-0, and then a dip to Medford Pines, Tomahawk, and Antigo. Mosinee's been impressive so far. Again, they've got good talent. They're going to be a handful. And Lakeland, a new head coach, and they haven't reached the meat of their schedule yet within the conference, but still a very good start. And Rhinelander, after I thought some struggles a year ago, back to more where we expect them to be in that conference.
Yeah, I guess Lakeland, for me, I guess my analysis, I'm kind of waiting to see, where they stand against the East
right.
In that tournament a little bit. They've played a couple of conference games they played guys that are kind of other teams that are down at the bottom of that, and that's where a couple of those wins have come. So I'm still trying to wait to see if they're their true colors. Not that they haven't got off to a nice start with a 5-2 mark and 4-0 overall. For Mosinee, I think they've kind of played all over the place. They played well in the conference. They've challenged themselves outside of it. They're in another tournament here at Green Bay Preble to get outside of the area. So it'll be interesting to see if they can keep that record going. And
the thing real quickly about Mosinee, you just don't see this. They got 5 kids that are averaging double digits right now.
They have a lot of guys that can put the ball in the
You just don't see that very often, and that kind of balance is very big.
So
whoops. I don't know where that came from. Oh, my computer.
All right, so,
I pull up the numbers, and all of a sudden it brings up a commercial.
Yeah, that's usually what happens.
But no, again, the balance.
Right, because then the opposing coaches, it's tough to decide who we're going to defend on a given night when kids, and that's the beauty of high school sports, when different kids can go off other than the person that's listed as the leading scorer. I think that makes you dangerous, or that's what makes it special at the same time when that kid that you didn't expect to go off, all of a sudden, he put 15 in tonight. That was a big plus for us. So I think, looking down that list, Mosinee becomes dangerous with that against the teams that they face in terms of how you're going to match up and what you're going to throw at them in terms of your defense. And for Rhinelander, like you said, another 3-0 mark sitting in the conference and finding their way back to playing more consistent basketball as they've done over the years.
Merriwood South, I tell you, it seems like every year it's, Stratford's been there. They obviously had that great year that unfortunately did not get a chance to win it all at the state. But boy, Marathon and Auburndale, every single year it feels like they're lined up either for huge conference games or huge playoff games. And you got Auburndale after that big win over Stratford on the road last week. 6-0 in the conference, 7-1 overall. You got Marathon, 5-0 in the conference, undefeated overall. Another impressive win today. In Stratford, obviously, 4-2 down the conference. Edgar 3-2, Assumption 2-3, Newman 0-5. But boy, Auburndale, Marathon, both those teams. And one of the shame aspects is I think both those teams are very capable of making it to the state tournament, but only one is going to get that far because they're going to run into each other again if they get past a team like Stratford, who could always step up and cause some troubles as well.
Yeah, it's interesting dynamics. I mean, everybody just wails on each other, as so to speak. I want to see how true that Stratford-Auburndale game holds up, because I think Stratford's done a couple things well early in the season, especially after talking to Coach Schmidt and saying that they got a lot of stuff to still find some consistencies on. And on paper, they look like they're playing pretty well and getting through that. You got Auburndale and Marathon as the front runners right now, but just as competitive as Stratford Edgar will always take a couple out of you here and there, and I think that there's teams that they usually win the conference with 3 losses, and that's when they play really consistent. You got 4 teams up at the top with 20+ wins. So as we jump back into that conference schedule, I think they jump back into the North right away. But there again, if you want that consistency, you can't let any of those games slip. Not looking at the North as challenging in years past. I think Athens has some physicality, and Red Lake is obviously the front runner with a winning record in that conference right now, based on what the standings are. But, Marathon, I was impressed with how they played today. I just thought it was balanced. I mean, there's scoring, there's extra passes. Even those guys that put up 26 and 27 respectively, they're taking it in for layups, or they're converting from the foul line. It's not like they're going out of their way to force a shot or get points tacked on that way. It's coming in the natural flow of the game, which I think is a testament to the coaching that these guys can all play within themselves, and the productivity they're getting out of the bench, and some of the young guys that start in that lineup. I just makes them a tough matchup. It'll be interesting to see, because I think if I had to pick, you got Grant Warren sitting in the middle, I think Auburndale's going to have their hands full when they play them. Big time.
And again, it's so silly to even think this way, but boy, I think this Marathon squad, the way that they are coached, the way that they play as a team, and then you add that 6'10", 6'11" kid, along with a kid like Underwood who put up 27 against really good competition. Number one, you got to see a team that makes it a single-digit game. We haven't seen that yet.
Right.
This has the feel of what could be really a special run, and again, this is not something the coach or the players would ever say, but I'm curious to see if anybody does challenge them as this season continues.
Yeah. You think they will be in a game here and there. Somebody's going to get them on a night where they're just a little off, or it's just some shots aren't going down. But you talk about Warren in the middle. I'm watching him go in and crash the offensive boards and get a putback as easily as if you leave him open, he's spotting up and drilling a three. I mean, that's a fairly dangerous weapon and a lot of focus that would go on a player on a court from another team to defend on top of the other guys that can beat you, and he can pass pretty well out of stuff. So it'll be interesting to see the schemes and strategies teams come up with to keep it in, and if anybody can build off that, if they have a little more talent than the team that kept them in a game against Marathon. But I think, you can't predict injury and sickness. Those things can pop up, but barring they hit some major factor, they're a team I wouldn't want to face going down the stretch, because they're only going to get better as the season goes on.
It's going to be interesting to watch that team. I really think that's going to be one of the more fun teams. I think in terms of, again, Coach Jacobson does such a good job. And again, you just feel like, boy, there's a lot of the pieces that are there. And then you say something like that, and then the pieces, somebody twists an ankle or something like that. I mean, it's
funny to think how people think, because I'm sitting at the game watching the game, and my son's like, who do you want to win? I'm like, well, Marathon. And he was like, well, those are rivalries. Because he goes to one of the Catholic, he goes to Newman. And I'm like, well, buddy, I said, you still want to see the teams in your conference do well. I don't want to see Kettle Moraine win. I said, so I mean, it's just these ways we think about things, and you want to see all these teams do well. And I think, Marathon well coached and they play well.
We're going to take a break and then come back with our student athlete for this week from Wausau East. 3-sport athlete, outstanding both in the fall, the winter, and the spring. Claire Cushman, she'll be joining us coming up next. With Jeff Grass, I'm Chad Holmes. It is the Big High School Sports Show on Bull Falls Radio, 98.9 and 1230. Online at bullfallsradio.com. Mobile devices and Alexa by searching WXCO and on the Civic Media app.
What's your idea of fall fun? Maybe it's hitting the trails on a new ATV. Then it's time to call CCU. That's Clover Belt Credit Union. Or if you're thinking of a UTV for hauling wood or hunting, or maybe just because it would make the tasks around your property so much easier, it's time to call CCU. ATVs, UTVs, utility tractors, and their attachments for care of your property. Whether you need it for fun or to get the job done, Clover Belt Credit Union is here to help with the great rate financing you want. What are you waiting for? Life's too short and winter's too long. Thinking about a motorhome or maybe a snowplow for your ATV or utility tractor? Call CCU for great rate financing. And if you're thinking motorcycle, Clover Belt Credit Union has the financing you need for the bike you want. Call or apply online at ccuwausau.com. Check it out. For vehicle loans, for mortgages, for financing fall fun, call Clover Belt Credit Union. That's CCU. Local lenders lending local money, keeping our community strong.
We are the NFHS. That stands for the National Federation of State High School Associations. But really, what we stand for, together with the WIAA, are the 178,000 high school sports students in Wisconsin. And so we stand. We stand for the runners, soccer and basketball players. We stand for their coaches, administrators, and officials. We stand for the swimmers, football players, and wrestlers. We stand for the golfers, softball, and volleyball players. We stand as the national leader and advocate for high school athletics and all who participate in them and make them possible. Because it is our purpose to ensure that high school students get to play, perform, and compete together. To learn more about who we are and what we stand for, visit nfhs.org.
Roll back in a game on Tuesday.
And welcome back. Big High School Sports Show on Bull Falls Radio, 98.9 and 1230. Online at bullfallsradio.com. Mobile devices and Alexa by searching WXCO. and on the Civic Media app. With Jeff Gress, former Newman Catholic High School boys basketball coach, I'm Chad Holmes, and very happy to welcome our student-athlete guest for this week from Wausau East High School, senior Claire Cushman. And Claire, thank you for coming on in here on this Christmas week.
Yes, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. And I'm going to ask you a really kind of an odd question, because we've been talking a lot about these holiday tournaments going on. Are you happy that the East is not involved in one, or is that something you wish you were traveling somewhere to be in a tournament for a couple of days?
Yeah, I think it can go both ways. I know the team and I, and especially Coach, like we always want to be playing basketball, and definitely getting the reps in for games and whatnot. But I think it's also nice to have time to relax, be with family, and also we are practicing, so we will be with the team and whatnot. But yeah, I think it can go both ways. I mean,
as somebody that's so busy, I imagine it's like, because we got a lot to talk about in terms of your sports, because you played volleyball in the fall. You're right now on the hardwood in basketball here in the spring, and then in the winter, and then in the spring, softball. And number one, congratulations, Valley Conference Player of the Year last season. I mean, just outstanding stuff. I'm going to make the hard question right away. Okay. Why not? Why beat around the bush here?
I'm ready.
What is your favorite sport?
Softball, by far. No hesitation.
When you hit like you hit, I'm not surprised at all. In terms of all these sports, when did you start playing like volleyball, basketball, and softball?
Yeah, I definitely picked up softball first. I think it, honestly, you say your true passion. I would say definitely started young with my dad, and yeah, so softball, and then it was basketball with being coached like by our dads. I know Sydney Crawford on the team, her dad, Olivia Shaneman, like from the beginning, we've been coached from like 4th grade all up till I think it was like, well, obviously our travel ball days until we hit high school, and then volleyball. Yeah, I would say volleyball and basketball, they go back and forth. Like I would say it would go softball, basketball, or softball, volleyball, basketball.
Is it a case, when you play in multiple sports, obviously when you're playing at the level that you play at, especially in softball, and you're going to go to UWGB and play softball at the next level, what keeps you going to stay in a sport like volleyball in the fall? When you think, man, I mean, you could be obviously, working on one of your other sports. What makes you keep going in terms of making sure that you're involved in a sport each of these seasons?
Yeah, I would say it definitely gets a little stressful at times to keep up with, going after practice, going to hit and whatnot for softball. But I think it's just the love of, like, the sport and, like, being involved for sure. Like, volleyball, I have the time of my life when coaches say, like, gosh, it's my senior year, you're going to miss it. It's like, I miss volleyball already. And it's happened how many months ago? Like, maybe 2 months ago, a month ago. But I think it's just being with the teammates. I love, like, team aspects and changing it up. Like, volleyball, it's different than basketball, which is completely different than softball. And it's just, yeah. You get in a roll, and then
well, that's kind of the same direction I was just going to go with how important it is to be a multiple sport athlete. I mean, I just think when you choose to do that and you enjoy doing that, you get so much more out of your high school career than when you just focus on one, even though if you prioritize, maybe you could go a little farther, but you have the best of both worlds. You're getting to go as far as you can in one of the sports that you absolutely love, plus making a difference. So for you, how important is it being a multiple sport athlete?
It's super important. I think I really wouldn't want to be doing anything other with my time. It's just with the girls, like all the team, you go from one group of girls to another, and like you can call them your friends, and you hang out like in the sport, outside of the sport, and also like using different muscles. I would say like you're not using the same muscles you are during basketball than you are softball, but it just keeps you in shape and keeps you moving, I feel. And
let's stick on this idea that you're a senior and days are numbered, right? I mean, graduation is inevitable. You don't have a choice unless you want to. You don't permanently fail and go back, right? So, how important has this journey been in basketball? Because you've just seen things get more the W's have been more competitive in games, and I'm assuming the group of girls that you're in the class with, the seniors, have just. You've been a part of that long growing process as well as finding the success. What have been some keys for you guys from the time you were freshmen till the time you're seniors in terms of your growth to make the program competitive and get some of those W's, those hard-fought W's, especially over the years?
Yeah, I would say our group, we have 7 seniors. You don't see that much in high school basketball, especially Wausau East, so it's so, like, rewarding and lucky to be a part of, because I can look at the girls and be like, you're my teammates. Am I too far away? Sorry. You're my teammates, but you're also some of my closest friends, and it's like, I know that we can be together on the court, but also have good conversations off the court and whatnot. And I think ever since we were young, we like waited for this day to be all together on the court again, and it's just, I don't know, it's a blast. And to be all seniors, it's kind of sentimental, because it's like, you know, this is our last year, our last shot to bring it all together and push towards the end, and that's what we're doing. So it's kind of very rewarding, I would say.
Again, we're talking to Claire Cushman, Wausau East High School senior, here on Bull Falls Radio. Along those lines, the struggles, because there has been struggles in terms of building these programs where there's been a lot of turnover in coaches, and that makes it just hard. And yet you've had, it seems, had a group that has been willing to work through it. And I think we talked about it during the football season as well, with a group of Lumberjacks that had to go through a lot of tough times, and yet to be able to be rewarded. Yeah. And for yourself, what have the tough times meant? Has it made those moments sweeter when things have come together for you and your teammates?
For sure. For sure. It just says a lot about the girls, that we're in it for each other, and you know, what are we going to do to make this better, and just dealing with it. I think definitely this year we've learned, and looking back at like the past how many seasons, you know, being together, it's something bad could happen to us, but it's how we're going to respond, and I think we're really good at responding. So yeah, now we're here.
Well, and how about some of your teammates? I mean, there's double-edged sword here. You name names. You never want to leave anybody out. But what are some of your teammates bring to the floor that you enjoy playing with them, and what they're able to do out there with you?
Yeah, I think our team all together has energy. Grayson Berger, she's always going to be the first one to say something, and we love her for it, because she's going to say what we don't like we want to say, but you know, we're just scared to say or something. So we love her for that. And you know, I would say Oli, she's always making us laugh. Sydney, she's always working hard, putting her head down, which is good, because that pushes all of us to get better. And yeah, I mean, I could say something about everyone on the team. So
it sounds very close-knit, and it's a team-based thing, which is awesome. With 7 seniors, sometimes it's hard, because number one, they're your friends. You've been around each other so much.
Yeah.
Is it ever, do you take on the leadership role? Do you enjoy it? Is it hard if you are, because, you know, you got friends that will say what they think sometimes, you know, and you're tight-knit, and there's a lot of you, so it's not always easy to wrangle in 6 other people. But what's your role as a leader on this team?
I think my role as a leader on this team is just to be there for everybody, pick everybody up. Obviously, we've been through some hard times, as like everybody who follows us over the past how many years, and it's just, how can you come back every practice, every game with a smile on your face and pick everybody up and be like, hey, it's okay. How are we going to laugh? How are we going to have fun? And yeah, I guess you need to have fun in practice. So I try to bring that to the team, but also work hard and push each other.
We had Coach Stout on a few weeks ago talking about, you know, this group, and she mentioned the fact there were so many seniors, and also how she wanted to basically allow you to all kind of spread your wings a little bit, not be afraid to go out there and shoot the basketball and have the confidence. What has her presence been the last couple of years in terms of trying to build and get the confidence for the entire group that's allowed you to win already more games, I think, than probably had the last couple of years?
Yeah. Coach Stout is great. I mean, it's just amazing to be taken over by her, and then just feeling the support that she provides our team. Support on the court, off the court. She just wants the best for all of us, and I think as a basketball coach, as a player's perspective, that's what you want from a basketball coach, and I think she's done a great job, and it's just been so rewarding. Obviously, we've won some games, so that's good, but also, like, your personal life, if you have something, like, she's going to always be there for you, so having that relationship with a coach is just very, very special, and it's like you don't see that often, you know, so.
And looking at your conference a little bit, I mean, you've seen some of these teams probably forever, whether it's been from travel ball all the way through. Do you have a favorite opponent you like to play? Do you have somebody you don't like to see?
Oh, boy.
I mean, do you have any? I mean, you guys pick up on tendencies and the way teams play and individual players versus the team type of aspects of whatever they are. So I guess I don't know. Favorite team you really look forward to playing, whether just because you want to beat them because you don't like them, or whether you want to win because that's the team you want to beat. Any conference rivals, I guess.
I would say definitely, obviously, the East-West. I feel like everybody can say that because crosstown rivals, but I would say Everest, too. Okay. Those are the two.
When you compare, I'm curious because you played both Spash and Marshfield. I think those are the two teams considered at this point the top of the conference. You put up 73 points against Stevens Point earlier this season, and then you saw, obviously, Marshfield. How would you compare those two teams? Do you have a sense on which team maybe at this point of the season may have a little bit of an edge?
Oh, both teams are well-rounded teams. They're hardworking. I mean, everybody plays them and you play hard, and I say, I don't know. That's a hard one. I would say Marshfield, but I know Spash, and they're both great teams.
You put up 29 against Stevens Point. What was the key that night?
I think just leaning on my teammates and going to the hole, not being scared. I think definitely this year our motto is to shoot the ball, score. You can't win unless you obviously put the ball in the hoop. So I think just having that mindset and like dishing and knowing where everyone is on the court and just taking the right shot at the right time.
As a senior, I think it's always difficult to, every game is one less game you get to play but you want to get to that game because it's more fun than practice usually because it's the game. That's why we practice, right? How hard is it to know that that time from that sport is going to be gone sooner, and I won't get to go back to. I mean, I get my next spring sports season, but I don't get the winter sports season back anymore as you graduate. I guess what will you miss most about it? And I'm assuming there's no answer. You can't slow it down. Times and it doesn't stop. So what will you miss most about it when the season ends?
I think the most I miss about basketball is just the girls and the friendship. Obviously, we spend time outside of basketball together, but just like showing up to practice, and basketball is such a long season, so it's every single day you just look forward to spending that time with the people. So
do a lot of the girls from your basketball team also play on your softball team, or is
nope, I believe it's just Grayson.
Okay.
How is that dynamic? I imagine that's a great aspect, actually, in the sense that you do have a different group that you connect with in different sports. I imagine that's, in a sense, I can see how having a group that goes together from sport to sport would be a great thing, but also to have maybe a different kind of relationship with one of your softball teammates as opposed to your basketball teammates. How do you look at that?
I think it's so fun. It's just a different environment in each sport and different girls, obviously. So I don't know. Yeah, it's just fun to be a part of. And obviously you're playing a different sport, so you're getting to see different sides of each other and like different leadership roles, obviously. And yeah.
As a basketball player now here in your senior year, how have you changed? Maybe what are the areas that you've improved the most at since you first started? When did you first start playing varsity basketball? What year?
My freshman year.
So you've had that. Yeah. And by the way, did you play varsity in all your sports as a freshman?
Not volleyball.
Okay,
no,
so softball and basketball. So comparing yourself as a basketball player as a freshman to where you are today, where are the areas that you've taken the biggest strides in your opinion?
I would say aggressiveness for sure. My freshman year, I still remember my first game. I'm out there and I'm just like shaking and I'm scared. But no, I think being aggressive, definitely taking it to the hole and taking the shots. And if I'm open, I'm going to shoot. And, if I have the lane, I'm going to drive. And I think that's one thing that I've really improved on this year.
That mentality. And again, going back to our discussion with Coach Stout, that mentality seems to be something that is being tried to be a foundation within your program. How much easier is it to play the game when you do have that I guess call it leeway to maybe miss a shot, but to have the confidence to make a shot, to have the confidence to be able to go to the basket, the mental aspect of sports, and obviously you've been around it so much, I imagine that's vitally important in terms of success.
Very important. I think 90% of the game is mental. I mean, you hear that all the time, so it's like if you don't have that mental aspect, it's going to be hard to perform every single time. So just knowing that, like, it's okay, like, you need to take the shot, and if you miss it, then you're going to be completely fine, and you're not going to get pulled from one mistake or one turnover and whatnot. So just keep playing hard, and that's all they can ask for.
Is there any part of the game, whether it's from volleyball to basketball to softball, whether it's, you've got to dig the ball out in volleyball, or you got an open shot that you can tell when you catch it there's something way in on that shot, or a certain pitch in softball that you got to make contact with? Any one of those more stressful based on your love of the sport?
Oh boy.
Or are they just are what they are when they pop up?
Yeah, I would say they're all kind of similar situations, obviously different sports, but you definitely put that pressure on yourself, as any athlete does, to perform. So I would say that in the moment, it's all the same. Yeah.
And again, we were talking right when you walked in, like how I'm always impressed how high school athletes, they balance their schedule, especially multi-sport, because I don't. Some people are like, yeah, they just play and they're going to do this. And it's, well, it's not. It's I want to keep my swing. Or are you a pitcher at all?
I play third base.
Okay, so keeping your softball game fresh from the time that you don't want to just stop if you got a lot hinging on what you want to accomplish, as much as your basketball shot when volleyball season's on. How hard is it to be, and on whatever top you got friendships and family and some student athletes work. How hard is it to balance that time, or are you good with it? Because I know time management can be a huge headache for some people in life. So
yeah, I would say it's definitely busy and stressful at times, but it's worth it in the end. I mean, going from go to basketball practice and you got to go hit to because you got to stay on top of everything throughout every sport. So I'd say it's very difficult at times, but it's rewarding, very rewarding.
Let's step away from the fields for a moment. What's your favorite class?
Oh boy, I do a lot of special needs work. Like I take teacher assistant in special needs department. So I am in an art class right now. So that's probably my favorite class that I'm involved in, I would say.
Also, in terms of, it's always interesting when somebody that does get the opportunity to play college sports, whatever sport it may be, that process. What was the process like for you? When did colleges start reaching out to you about your softball? What was the mindset in terms of how you decided that UWGB was the place for you? Could you maybe take us a little behind the curtain on that process?
So I think, oh gosh, it was beginning to travel ball when I was younger, and I was like, wow, like I think I really want to do this. Like looking at like my, your peers, and you're like, wow, when I get older, like I want to do this, and I'm like, I want to play college softball. So as being young, like that's my goal. So how can I achieve this? So then I joined Fire Pro, which is an organization, a club ball organization, and playing with them, going to recruiting tournaments and sending emails and all the things that you do to get recruited and whatnot. Yeah, just doing that until I would say, well, obviously junior years when coaches can reach out to you. So kind of sending the emails and hopefully hearing back. And then Green Bay kind of came into the picture, I would say. My junior year, I knew, like, wow, I really like it. When I went on a visit, and I'm like, wow, like, this is a place that I can find home, and that's really special. Because, obviously, you're signing up for the next 4 years,
right.
And if you want to be completely set on your decision, couldn't be happier. And like my parents and my support system, like everything is just so special, and to be able to do this and then have them by my side. And
aside from obviously being attracted to UWG Bay because of the softball scholarship, have you looked into what your major might be or what you want to do in the future that can still be there, that you want it to be part of your life? Because at some point, sports can end, so the real world can kick you. So you do it as long as you can and as long as it's fun. But anything that interested you at that school also as a major? Or
I'm looking into psychology. I think that's what I'm going to major in. So.
Okay.
You obviously, UWGB is expecting you when you get on campus to do well in the softball field. We've talked a little bit about the balancing. Right now, do you do anything with softball during this time of year, or is it all basketball? How do you maybe share with us in terms of how you try to make sure that you stay sharp on the sport that obviously is going to be the one that you focus on after this year? Do you do anything with softball right now?
I do. So I'll go hit after practice and whatnot, and I try to do it at least 2 to 3 times a week. Staying fresh. I have played softball tournaments on the weekends, so. yeah, just year round, but I wouldn't trade it for the world.
And also something about our area, I think, and again, maybe I'm, in terms of following it, it does seem like there's a number of the girls in our area now that are going to the next level playing college softball. Has there been a lot of girls around here that you've sensed that the level of competition and the level of skill has been going up in our area when it comes to softball?
Oh, 100%. I think it's great to see like the love of softball, especially like I can look at someone who wants to play college softball and it's like, wow, you have the same determination and drive and like love for the sport, and that's just so special to see because obviously you don't see it that often. I mean, there's not many. I mean, there's a lot of college athletes, but how many people like go off to play in high school? So it's just so fun to see and like that they love it and like feel the love for it as much as you do. So yeah.
And in analyzing your game, what do you think? Because obviously it's just like coming from when you're an 8th grader and all of a sudden you're playing some varsity sports as a freshman. It's bigger, faster, stronger.
Yeah.
There's just that pace of the game. I'm assuming there's another jump.
Oh, yeah.
When you get everybody's, the colleges recruiting and bringing, here's the best player here, here's the best player, and there's more competition. It's another level jump. What do you think is there a part of your game you really want to get ready for the college level? Like, I gotta do this a little better from high school to my freshman year in college.
Yeah, I think just overall improving my mental aspect of the game. I think making that jump physically, you can be 100% ready, but are you mentally ready? Mentally ready to like take on and be like, wow, everybody's so good here, but how can I find my place and how can I do my role? And I think that's just something I do want to work on. And it's like attacking every practice and don't take like a day off and whatnot. So.
And is UWG? I'm just.
Yeah.
Are they any good? Are they?
Yeah.
I don't follow any soft.
Yes,
are they? I don't. They were good.
Yes.
Okay. I mean, you got to kind of say that.
Yeah, great
just to be
season.
safe, but
Yeah.
I get it. Go ahead.
What are your goals for this spring? Obviously, you're going to finish up and hopefully, do a lot of good things the rest of the winter. But being the player of the year as a junior, I mean, that's cool in itself. Now you're coming back for your senior year, both in terms of your individual goals for this coming spring and maybe your team goals. What are you looking for? We have no snow on the ground, so maybe it'll stay this way and you'll get out there real quickly. But what are your goals for the spring?
I think personally, just staying on top of my work, how hard can I work and push myself, because obviously I haven't reached my full potential and there's still days that I need to push myself and work hard to be the best person I can be, like personally, like as an athlete, but also like as a teammate too, on and off like the field or the court or whatever sport I'm in at the moment. But yeah, just keep working hard, keep improving, attacking every game, I would say. Not taking a pitch off. Yeah.
And should it be time for our final question? Okay. You got anything else?
Nope, I'm good. Go ahead.
Okay, because every time that we bring in somebody, especially a senior, to the program, we like to ask the question is, and obviously in all your sports you see freshmen and sophomores who are just starting their journey that you're kind of getting close to the end. Mm-hmm. If you were to take your experiences and what you've learned and be able to pass along a piece of advice to somebody that's starting their high school journey as a varsity player in any sport, what have you learned over these last few years that you can pass along to a young teammate?
Yeah. I think I've learned that no matter if you win or lose, you're still going to be with the girls and you're still going to make friendships and relationships that you wouldn't have made outside of athletics, and just taking that and, just having fun. I say overall, you're going to look back and you're not going to remember the losses and you're going to remember the big moments. So enjoy the big moments and just keep those with you, because those are memories you're not going to forget.
Well, what has been the biggest moment maybe in your athletic career at this point? It could be, it could be travel, it could be high school, it could be middle school. What is maybe a moment that still sticks with you as one of the great moments in your athletic endeavors?
Oh boy. I'd say
Did you have a grand slam home run to win the game at any point?
I mean, I would definitely say there's moments like those that I remember, but I think it's just being with my girls. I think I can think of how many moments that I'm like, wow, that was something I'll never forget. But I think truly I'll never forget the relationships that I've made in high school. So.
That is a good answer, isn't it? Claire Cushman, congratulations on all the success. Again, I was saying earlier, you were honorable mention all conference in volleyball. Obviously, you had your all conference and player of the year in softball, and you're putting yourself in a nice position here to be in the discussion in the winter. It's such a great body of work so far. Best of luck the rest of the winter. Best of luck in the spring, and thank you for coming on in.
Thank you for having me.
That's Claire Cushman of the Wausau East Lumberjacks. We're going to come back, have one more segment to go. The Big High School Sports Show on Bull Falls Radio, 98.9 and 1230.
If you're looking for your next ride, check out Mankey GMC in Schofield. Formerly Fred Miller Automotive, Mankey GMC serves Schofield, Wausau, Marshfield, and Stevens Point with a huge selection of new and pre-owned vehicles. Explore a range of top-notch SUVs like Acadia, Terrain, and Yukon, or choose from the rugged Sierra truck lineup, or even a certified pre-owned vehicle. No matter your dream vehicle awaits at Mankey GMC, 448 Grand Avenue in Schofield, and online at MankeyAuto.com. Mankey GMC in Schofield, where your journey begins.
Pre-Christmas hoops action around Wisconsin, plus head coaching changes on the gridiron. I'm Travis Wilson, and this is a WisSports.net Minute brought to you by NFHSNetwork.com. More high school sports news after this.
Do you ever wish you could be in two places at once? With homework, carpool, practice, and everything else, sometimes you just can't make it to every game. But the NFHS Network's streaming platform makes that a little easier. For just $11.99 a month, you can watch unlimited high school sports live and on demand, at home or on the go. You can watch online or on one of our mobile or connected TV apps. Visit NFHSNetwork.com and subscribe today to never miss another game.
The basketball holiday tournament and classic schedule is jam-packed later this week, but there were some noteworthy games around the state last week heading into the winter break. Appleton North is the last remaining unbeaten team in FBA boys basketball play, as the Lightning survived against Kimberly on Friday to stay atop the standings. Kimberly's Bryson Veith had a half quarter at the buzzer to force overtime, but Appleton North rebounded to score a 74-67 victory in the extra period. Junior Latravian Fenderson of the Prairie School holds a scholarship offer from Wisconsin, scored 39 points with 9 rebounds in a win over Union Grove last week. De Pere ran its winning streak to 38 games by beating Green Bay Southwest 76-21. The defending D1 champion Redbirds are dominating this year with an average margin of victory of 39.8 points per game. In girls hoops from Friday, Homestead knocked off D1 top-ranked and previously unbeaten Arrowhead 59-57. The offseason football coaching changes continue in high school football. Last week, Manitowoc Lincoln announced that former Green Bay Packers offensive lineman Evan Smith had been hired as the team's new coach. Elsewhere, Mike Kozlowski has been hired as the new head man at West Bend East, while former Bigfoot star Gus Wiedig has taken over as the football coach at old rival Broadhead Judah. This has been a WisSports.net Minute. Check us out online at WisSports.net and search Apple for the WSN podcast.
And welcome back, Big High School Sports Show on Bull Falls Radio, 98.9 and 1230. I really loved some of those answers that Claire Cushman gave. And the ones that I really loved was that last question when I asked about, the advice. So often it's about the idea of winning all the time. But the experiences of the relationships that are developed, it's not just for the teams that win championships. It's the team, everybody that's involved in these sports, where you put in your heart and your soul for your teammates and your coaches and your school. I really liked that answer. I thought that was one of the better answers that I've heard in a long time.
Well, I think so much can be said about, it's not the same for everybody. Some people, their high school years, they just want to get away from, they don't make those same connections. But I think sometimes high school sports bring us into that pathway. They form these deep relationships because you've gone, whether it's on the field or on the court or whatever playing surface it's on, and battled together with the same uniform title on, and it becomes a big deal. And I always think it's neat when you get married and some of your wedding parties, a couple of your high school buddies, or you see unfortunately somebody's parent passes away, and the people at the funeral you're running into are some of their high school buddies are coming back because they care.
Well, this week is so much about that.
Yeah,
between around Christmas time, where you see
what I'm saying.
You see these people that you may see one time a year now.
Yeah.
But
it's this week or Thanksgiving.
But when you get together, it's like nothing has changed.
Oh, you haven't missed a beat.
You can jump into a conversation and just roll with it. in a way where, those are the special relationships where you don't have to worry about it. You have to be on. You are there. You're back.
Complete comfort zone.
You're back to when you were 15 years old. I mean, it really is something that is very special. And I thought, again, Claire got it. Sometimes kids get it. And I thought she gets it. And I think, again, when we talk to kids, I say from East, because they've struggled in a number of athletics over the years. And to hear kids like that realize that it's, in a lot of ways, the process. It is the process of getting better, to lifting a program. Taking a program that's at the bottom and then taking it up 3 steps in this long process. I love that. I love the aspect of it's not just about winning a championship.
And in 20 years from now, it's about what you've learned about yourself to make yourself the best possible version of you. And I think it's also those substantial friendships that you found that can last the testament of time, where you can be a total comfort zone and catch up anytime, whether you haven't seen the people in 5 years, 10 years, 2 years, whatever it might be. And I think that's high school time well spent.
Yep.
So
let's talk a little bit about some of these conferences on the girls' side before we wrap it up. Valley, you got Marshfield 4-0 in the conference, 8-1 overall. Spash, they've picked it up recently. They're now 3-0 in the conference, 6-4 overall. Rapids, maybe a little bit of a minor surprise, over 500 at 2-1 after struggling last year. 3-6 overall. Wausau West struggling a bit right now. I'm a little surprised. I have not had a chance to see the Warriors lately. I saw them early in the season, but obviously there's a process there. They lost a lot of great talent. They had a coaching change. They're 1-2 in the conference, 2-6 overall. Merrill Blue Jays are 1-2 in the conference, 5-4 overall. East 1-3, 4-7 overall, and Everest 0-4, 1-9 overall. So not unexpected to see Marshfield and Spash right now fighting for the top spot. And I think that's the way it's going to be for the rest of the season.
Yeah. I'm interested to see how Marshfield does in their tournament with Hudson and Oshkosh West. I think those are some good foes to have, to see if they continue to, increase that 8-1 mark that they have right now for Spash. They killed Chippewa Falls right before we went on break, and I think they've got a couple good games that they'll get to see where they are at in the Century Classic. Rapids, the only thing I can kind of measure and to see how they'll play Bondwell in that Century Classic, so on Friday, I believe. So I think that'll be a good game to kind of see, are they showing, because Bondwell's always solid in that conference. And then, it's kind of another mixture in that middle. Rapids, Merrill, West, East can be a little bit of a sleeper in terms of that. So kind of to see where those teams are at as the season progresses here once we jump back into conference play.
Great Northern, we talked plenty about Lakeland earlier, 5-0, 10-1 overall. Rhinelander still undefeated, 4-0, 7-3 overall. Mosinee 3-1. The only loss came to Lakeland, 8-2 overall. Medford, Pines, Antigo, and Tomahawk struggling, but Lakeland, again, I think a special team right now. But that Mosinee team, 8-2, 3-1, and off to a really good start as well.
Yeah, Lakeland's the cream of the crop there. They challenged themselves with probably the toughest non-conference schedule. Just, you talked about it with Coach Ouimette. That size is hard to beat. And if those girls can move up on the floor like she's describing, that's a pretty formidable foe.
Real quickly as well, but they can continue. One thing I noticed is you got each of those teams has a really top-notch score. You got Christina Ouimette, 31 points per game. Taylor Jersley, 22.5. Auburn Clark for Rhinelander, 22.5. In girls hoops, if you have those girls that can really put it in the hole, that's a big step, isn't it?
Well, it gives you consistency on offense. It's when you need a bucket, and especially if they can play inside out a little bit, or if they're the type of player that can consistently get a bucket even on their distribution is a big deal. So I think that always keeps you in the game and eliminates those scoring droughts, which usually keep you out of the game or make end up involve you losing that game at the end of the night when you can't score consistently. So, those three will be in the mix at the top of that conference, with, I think, Lakeland just being a little bit ahead, then Mosinee, then Rhinelander as we go forth.
Interesting. In the Merriwood South, Assumption undefeated, Auburndale undefeated, 6-0, 4-0, Auburndale 4-0 in conference, Assumption 6-0, 10-0, 7-0. Excuse me, I'm talking way too much. Auburndale and Assumption both undefeated. Stratford 4-2, 5-5. Edgar 4-3, 6-4. Newman 1-6, 2-9. Marathon 1-6, 2-8. But right now, Assumption and Auburndale, those will be, I think, the interesting matchups as we continue.
Yeah, right now, unblemished records. They're going to jump back into conference play, and they're, here's assumption again that out to a 10-0 start, 6-0 overall in the conference, and I believe if I've got my statistic or my schedule right here, that they lay dormant over the Christmas break.
Yep.
So just another way to look at it, and they'll pop back and play the northern half of the conference. I still think they're out ahead of a little bit of everybody, what we've seen in scores and consistency throughout, but 1-2 there with Assumption, Auburndale, and then after that you get into a little bit more of a competitive race between the Stratford, Edgars, even Newman Catholic vying just to get over that hump because they're always sitting tight where they got to steal one there at the end with some of the teams.
And one of the interesting things, on January the 22nd, a Monday, Assumption at Auburndale, Thursday the 25th, Auburndale at Assumption. You don't see that.
No, usually there's a little breathing room in between that war that happens.
And I think it's because it was postponed early in the season because of a concert, I think, at Assumption.
Yeah.
So the idea, and I think if in a perfect world, you don't put it back-to-back within 3 days.
No, not at all. The good news is it's probably more, you're adjusting what didn't work or did work because it's so fast. It's not like you're not going to know your opponent well by the time that ends up. But again, right there, make or break the conference if these two teams keep rolling like they are. And one of those games could be the end of it if the other team doesn't play well.
Got about a minute to go. Anything on your thoughts as our final 2023 show comes to an end, heading now into 2024? And I guess one thing I throw out there as a coach, the mindset at this time of the year. There is a differentiation when you get to January 1st, isn't there?
Oh, definitely, because now you've gotten some of your major non-conference games aren't as pending because you've either done them at Thanksgiving, maybe over Christmas, and sprinkled one in there, and it's more about that conference play. So I think your mindset now becomes a focus on how to play well against the conference teams, whether you're adjusting something from the time you saw that team before, whether you're just trying to stay in the mix of things, whether you're trying to get yourself away from some of the teams that are chomping on your heels if you're in the lead. So I think January 1st hits, that conference schedule really becomes important. And then, as a coach, they all say they don't look ahead, but you're also dabbing into seeing what the playoffs are looking like because, different scores and different opponents really start to matter. And those pieces of the puzzle start to come together. So you're prepping for the end of the season when it's your race within the conference and where you want your team to be seated in playoffs.
Thanks to our guests again, Melissa Ouimette, head coach of Lakeland Union girls basketball, and Claire Cushman from Wausau East. Jeff?
Always fun.
Hey, we'll talk to you in 2024.
Sounds fun.
He's Jeff Gress. I'm Chad Holmes. This has been the Big High School Sports Show on Bull Falls Radio, 98.9 and 1230.